warm welcome to The Pulse, your fortnightly show that gets you issues impacting the larger society. I'm Neelu Vyas. Recently, we came across stories of shock and horror coming from the shelter homes in Bihar and UP, where young underage girls were not only sexually abused, but also forced into prostitution. Centre recently informed the Supreme Court that about 9,382 children in conflict with law were living in almost 9,589 childcare institutions across the country. These children have been largely victims of sexual abuse and pornography. With new laws like Prevention of Children from Sexual Offences Act, the number of reported cases has risen up. But is child abuse restricted only to sexual abuse? In today's episode, we look at all forms of child abuse. What are the reasons why children are becoming so vulnerable? And how does the society tackle a problem like this? Joining me now is Stuti Kakkar, Chairperson, National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. I welcome her on the show. Next to her is Alka Singh, Head in Policy Advocacy, Save the Children Foundation. I welcome her too on the show. Next to her is Sandeep Vohra, Dr. Sandeep Vohra, who's consultant and psychiatrist, No Worry, No Tension Healthcare Private Limited. And next to him is Kumar Shailab, who's the co-director of Haq Center for Child Rights. And also joining us along with these panelists is a vast set of audience where we'll have people whose children have gone through some form of abuse at some point of time. So I welcome all of you on the show, but let me today start the show with the parents and all the people who've joined us in the audience. And the most talked about form of child abuse is, of course, the sexual abuse. I'll start with one case study which I have. आपसे पूछना चाहेंगे कि exactly आपकी बच्ची के साथ क्या हुआ था?
मेरा नाम प्रवीण कुमार है। मेरी बिटिया के साथ में सेक्सुअली छेड़छाड़ हुई थी वेद व्यास डीएवी स्कूल विकासपुरी बाथरूम में, जो गर्ल्स टॉयलेट। 16 सितंबर 2016 का ये इंसिडेंट है और टिल डेट अप्रॉक्स 2 ईयर हो गए हैं और ये केस कोर्ट में रनिंग है और अभी तक कोई डिसीज़न नहीं है। बच्चे के साथ साथ हमें भी हरासमेंट है।
आप किस तरीके का हैरेसमेंट फेस कर रहे हैं?
मैडम, कोर्ट में जाना, किस नज़र से लोग देखते हैं समाज में ऐसे बच्चे को और ऐसे बच्चे के माँ बाप को, शायद मेरे से बेहतर आप सब समझते हैं।
तो जब ये वाक़या हुआ था, आपने क्या स्कूल के प्रिंसिपल को बताया था? उनको पता है एग्जैक्टली कि क्या केस था और जिसने ये बदसलूकी की थी बच्चे के साथ, उसको क्या उसके खिलाफ स्कूल ने कोई एक्शन लिया?
जब ये हुआ तो हमें पहले अपनी बच्ची को देखना था कि बच्ची ठीक है कि नहीं है। हमने प्राइवेट डॉक्टर को दिखाया जहां उन्होंने क्लियर किया कि छेड़छाड़ हुई है बट आपकी बच्ची इंटरनली सेफ है, आपको पुलिस में जाना चाहिए। तो हम फिर पुलिस में गए, पुलिस ने इंक्वायरी करी और सीसीटीवी फुटेज वगैरह देखा गया। प्रिंसिपल को उन्होंने ही इन्फॉर्म किया था। डायरेक्ट इन्फॉर्म करने पे इस केस को दबा दिया जाता, जो कि वहाँ पे ऑलरेडी जो बच्चे पढ़ रहे हैं उनके पेरेंट्स ने बताया कि यहाँ पे कई बार इंसिडेंट हो चुके हैं।
ओके लेकिन जब आपको भी तभी पता चला होगा जब आपकी बच्ची ने आपको बताया होगा। नॉर्मली बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि जो सेक्सुअल अब्यूज़ के केसेस होते हैं, बच्चे बहुत हेजिटेट करते हैं इस बात को बताने के लिए। तो आपको इस बात का कैसे पता चला? आपके बच्चे ने आपसे कैसे शेयर किया इस चीज़ को? शायद अपनी मदर से किया होगा या आपसे बताया होगा, मतलब कैसे आप पूरे परिवार को ये बात पता कैसे चली?
16 सितंबर को स्कूल में पिक एंड ड्रॉप वॉकर स्टूडेंट है, मेरी वाइफ लेके जाती है स्कूल में और लेके आती है। घर पे लाने के बाद में उसे चेंज करना, नहलाना धुलाना, उस टाइम पे उसने बताया अपनी मदर को कि मम्मी ऐसे ऐसे एक गंदे अंकल हैं, उन्होंने मेरे साथ गलत काम किया।
और कितनी बड़ी है आपकी बच्ची?
जब ये इंसिडेंट हुआ तब मेरी बेटी 4 साल की थी।
My God.
जस्ट एडमिशन हुआ था, फ्रेश एडमिशन इन स्टार्टिंग लेवल।
I can really empathize and I mean we just don't have any words to where the society is heading, and a 4-year-old kid facing in school the kind of trauma which this gentleman has just been narrating. I also have with me a person who was just a short while back during our informal discussions was telling us that there are CCTV cameras installed in various schools. But still, you know, that sensitivity which should have been there is still not there. आपसे बात करेंगे, माइक अपना प्लीज पास करेगा. Yes, sir. Introduce yourself first.
My name is Ranajit Roy. I happen to have 2 kids at DPS RK-Puram. However, I'm linked to a lot of other parents from DPS Mathura Road as well. So the incident that I'm trying to narrate is from DPS Mathura Road. 3 incidents. Number 1, 4 years back there was a sodomized case inside boys' hostel. An 11th standard student had sodomized an 8th standard child, boy student, inside the boys' hostel. Things were reported everywhere, including Nizamuddin Police Thana, CBSE, DOE. Well, till date nobody got back to me. I was told that the 11th standard child has been shunted out and the 8th standard child has moved up to his senior classes. That's fine. Number 2, 141 parents with their written letter approached me that from 5th to 9th standard girl students are touched during dispersal, during movement in toilets here and there. 141. I've been shouting from top of Qutub Minar.
141
Not
parents.
1 or 2.
Okay.
And nobody reached me, nobody approached me. It's been more than 2.5 years.
Okay.
And 2016, July, August, CCTVs were put inside girls' hostel, looming large, close to the washroom. And the principal, Mr. Manohar Lal, had been watching it. I put in written, I've shouted from top of Alai Minar. I can't go to Qutub Minar every time. And till date, nothing has been done. Nobody approached me.
So you
I wish
say
to hand over the things to the proper authorities, competent authorities, with proper signatures. But then that's the state of affairs.
So you're saying that the school, there was a reported case of sodomy, then about 141 parents complained of the fact that there was CCTV cameras installed and probably someone was watching the footage with the girls
Indeed,
moving
the
in the
principal,
private.
Mr. Manohar Lal, had been watching it.
And my first question at this point of time, after listening to both these gentlemen, we'll go to Dr. Vohra. Where is the society heading to? A little 4-year-old sexually getting abused. Here you have a case of sodomy, and then how parents are saying that CCTV cameras have been installed in the name of ensuring security in the school, but that also is misused. Where is the society heading to?
I think this actually speaks of gross insensitivity to these incidents, and nobody can imagine. I can understand as a psychiatrist, especially the first case when he was mentioning, you can't imagine the trauma that child is having for last 2 years, because at the age of 4 years, if the child has had this incident, then for last 2 years, the parents are going to the court. The child will develop mistrust towards elders lifelong. The child will be could be having repetitive thoughts of the incidents, which we label as PTSD, and lifelong anxiety and depression can set in such cases. It is huge mental trauma to the people, to the victims on one hand, then the families on the other hand. I can see he belongs to a simple family. Had he been somebody very powerful, the other person who has been blamed would have been arrested next day. Unfortunately, that is the case here in the society. Coming over to what the other gentleman was saying, I personally feel that, again, it is people who are in power, they feel that they can get away with anything. And they all feel that if somebody is in their school, then they must obey whatever way they feel they are dictating their terms. Definitely, there's a change in the dynamics of all schools, whether government or private schools. Children are no longer that, listening to everything what is being told by the teachers. But definitely there is gross change in the society. Not only one-to-one relationship between children and teachers, but overall I see there is gross amount of apathy towards others. We are becoming too much individualistic. We don't understand the harm, what is being done, right, emotionally, mentally. And that is the reason the situation is going into the wrong direction.
Right. Suti Kakkar, I'll come to you now that the reporting of the cases of the sexual abuse they have risen phenomenally. Now we have laws which are in place, stringent laws are there. But what is the reason why the number of sexual abuses against the children are rising so much?
There are many researches that are going on to find out why CSA cases are rising. And one reason is that there is better reporting because there is a specific law, POCSO law for it, and people are very much aware of it, that this is a wrong thing which is being committed against our children, and therefore they are reporting it. Now, I would like to just comment on the case mentioned by the first person, and I'm really very sorry to hear it that this happened in the school, and the case is pending for so long in the courts. Let me assure you, sir, that the Supreme Court of India is pushing really hard to get these cases moving on a fast track. I hope your case is taken up soon. If you let me know the details, I will certainly ask my Delhi State Commission to take it up.
मैम, अगर इनको आप 2 लाइन में हिंदी में ये एश्योरेंस दे देंगी तो शायद इन्हें बहुत सांत्वना मिलेगी.
वेंसडे को मेरे ऑफिस आ जाइए, आप हमें अपने डिटेल्स दे दीजिए और हम कोशिश करेंगे कि इसके लिए आपका केस थोड़ा सा एक्सपेडाइट हो जाए. वैसे जुडिशल प्रोसीडिंग्स में हम लोग का कोई रोल होता नहीं है, फिर भी कोशिश ये की जाएगी कि आपका केस जल्दी ख़त्म हो जाए, क्योंकि 4 साल के बच्चे या छोटे बच्चों के साथ जब ये सब चीज़ें होती हैं तो थोड़े दिन बाद वो भूलने लगते हैं, और विच इज़ अ गुड थिंग कि दे विल गेट इट आउट ऑफ देयर मेमोरीज. बट ट्रॉमा जो होता है वो रहता है, लेकिन जो डिटेल्स हैं वो भूल जाते हैं.
चलिए, अब स्तुति जी ने आपको एश्योर किया है तो उससे शायद आपको थोड़ा सांत्वना मिलेगी. बट दैट डज नॉट स्टॉप मी फ्रॉम सेइंग दैट व्हाट हैज हैपेंड टू दैट 4-year-old kid, it's just, it cannot be expressed in any words, the kind of trauma which that child has gone through and the kind of trauma which the parents are going through. I'll come to you now.
Yes, I agree with you कि जो ट्रॉमा हुआ है वो नहीं होना चाहिए, और NCPCR की ओर से हम लोग ने कई बार स्कूल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशंस को लिखा है कि ऐसे लोगों को ना रखें जिनकी सेक्सुअल हिस्ट्रीज जो हैं संदिग्ध हैं या जिन जानकारी नहीं है. क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे होते हैं जो जिनको एक लाइकिंग होती है बच्चों के लिए, और वो एक डॉक्टर साहब ज़्यादा अच्छा बता पाएंगे कि दे आर बिल्ड दैट वे. तो पीडोफाइल्स
अभी मैं आऊँगी उस पर भी.
हाँ, तो वो छोटे बच्चों की तरफ आकर्षित होते हैं. टू माई माइंड इट्स अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ पावर ओवर अ स्मॉल चाइल्ड,
राइट.
बट डॉक्टर साहब उसको बेटर बता पाएंगे.
एब्सोल्युटली. इसके पहले कि मैं डॉक्टर वोरा के पास आऊँ, अलका, माय क्वेश्चन टू यू नाउ इज दैट the rising number of cases against, the sexual abuse against children. As an activist, as someone who's dealing with these kind of cases every day on a day-to-day basis, what do you feel is the real problem?
First thing,
and how do we deal with this kind of a situation?
Exactly. So first thing is we must see this as a collective failure of the society. We can't blame one and not blame other. It's all of us who are responsible for this. You must be aware that in 1992, when India ratified UN's Convention for Rights of Children, it was a paradigm shift from the need-based to a right-based approach. And then we have seen many progressive laws coming in, like Juvenile Justice Act, like POCSO, which are one of the most progressive laws that around the world any country has. Unfortunately, with these legal framework being available there, we haven't really done enough, even what's written in those laws. So in terms of monitoring, in terms of allocating right kind of budgets to assure that what's written there actually gets translated into action. So enough focus on translating that into practice has not happened. And we can actually look at kind of budgets that this country allocates on child protection. It points 0 to...
Yeah, you pointed out a valid point, but before I get into the budgeting and the finance factor, let's talk about the sensitivity of this whole issue. A strong law is in place like POSCO, Shalabh, and how many people are really aware of what exactly are the provisions of the law? How do you make the society aware? How do you sensitize the stakeholders, which includes schools, which includes lawyers, which includes hospitals, policemen? How do you really do that? Because at the ground level, maybe in the urban areas, the situation is a little different. But the rural areas, when you go down, there is there is absolute lack of sensitivity.
Yeah, I mean, very rightly pointed out, but on the very outset, I'll say child sexual abuse is the breach of trust. That is the anatomy of this such kind of menace. And having said that, you talked about sensitivity and how do you, first of all, we need to actually explain to the society what are the abuses. It's not only limited to sexual abuse. There are different kinds of abuse. There are mental abuse, psychological abuse, which just go unreported or unaddressed. So first of all, there has to be an understanding built upon what are the abuses we have to look at. Secondly, and see, it's unfortunate that every time a problem comes up, we come out with a solution which is in form of a legislation, a law, strong law. That is just not sufficient.
Right.
That law has to be monitored time to time. And this is the failure of this law.
Right.
POCSO being a very stringent law, but 6 years after POCSO, we're still seeing so many cases every day. And Delhi, being the center of the heart of the country, we have so many cases reported. But the reality is, if you go to police station to register a case, it takes at least 12 hours to register the case.
Right.
And the conviction rate, if you look at
That is abysmally low.
Yeah, how the cases are dealt with. The conviction, the 3 years average is 30%.
Right.
So there is no fear of law and procedure in the society.
Right.
So even if one knows
you
about
raised a
it,
valid point. Let me just come to Stuti on this. He said that the conviction rate of is very low. What is the reason for that? Is it because of the lack of sensitivity? Is it because of lack of coordination of how things happen? What is the main reason?
See, when POCSO happens, child sexual abuse happens, you have to understand the types of child sexual abuse. First, 55% or 60% of children face child sexual abuse within families, where there is this tendency to hide the case. And there will never be any evidence because the victim will always be pressured into not giving evidence.
Absolutely.
So this is where the case fails. Second type of POCSO cases are those where the adolescents have had consensual sex, and once they run away, then the girl's family or the boy's family then starts yelling that there has been rape or there is an unwanted pregnancy. The only time when it surfaces is when a stranger abuses a child, sexually abuses a child, where the family feels that yes, it is justified in getting the stranger hanged. So that is why we have this low conviction rate.
You made a significant point, but despite these stringent laws being in place, but there is also a traditional and a cultural aspect of our society. Like Sudhi was just saying that, half the cases go unreported. There is a certain hesitation on the part of the family members to talk about the incident, if at all it has happened within the family. If your own, maybe your tuition teacher who's coming, or it's a family priest who's committed this act, or it's someone who's your own relative, maybe your uncle, or maybe in some cases even the fathers. How do you ensure that your child really comes up and talks? Because there is a deafening silence on the part of the child, because the child thinks you have to obey the elders. And how do you really point fingers at your person who is your own family member? Now, how do you overcome this deafening silence on the part of the child?
A very important point you have made, and we were actually looking at how do we make our children aware even of these acts and laws which is there? How does it reach children, in what language? Do they really understand that there is a safety net? They can actually make a call and report such cases, given that many of the perpetrators are from family or are known to the child. So we were looking at the textbooks, the first thing that's very close to a child and wherein they get most of the information that's useful to them. Not many textbooks elaborately talks about what are kinds of abuses, where to report to, who to reach out to, how to protect yourself from.
I believe in some NCERT books there is already this provision made.
This year. That's one good thing that is yes. happening, that NCERT now
has. At the back of the books.
Yes. But more than that, I would like to talk about an example which has happened in Andhra Pradesh, wherein the school curriculum now has the whole year, it's divided into 12 parts, wherein children would be studying about what forms of abuse, where to reach out to, and other important things into their books itself through the year. So it's not kind of one message, and I wonder that what does this really mean? Can I make a call? So it's in the curriculum, and because it has come into the Andhra Pradesh school curriculum now, teachers would be trained on that.
Okay.
When you have a classroom process of an adult and children there, in the process you talk about such things. So that's kind of a higher level of taking that sensitivity into the school
Absolutely.
system, as well as children reaching out
Right.
to them.
This is an excellent way
Yes.
of actually spreading it pan-India, because unless until you express this, it comes from an adult's mouth to the child, and that adult could be the parent or the teacher, and it is actually documented in the form of textbooks, which children take it very seriously. I think if we do it, that is something very good for as far as raising awareness and sensitization of the masses in the form of children and adults is important, and it should help a lot.
Right. I'll come to you, ma'am. But my question to you, Dr. Vora, is that we were talking about our societal culture and tradition, where still families are not very open about talking about sex, and especially with their little children, that, how do you open up about sex? No matter how much, there is a word that, in the schools, the children are being taught about the good touch and the bad touch, but all that looks like it's as if it's just on paper. So how do you make and how do you sensitize the parents, especially, who come from repressive backgrounds where people are just not used to talking about it? How do you evolve the society at this point of time? And psychological sensitization, how do you make them aware? How do you do that?
See, it's what you have said. I can quote few examples where I have actually seen such cases.
Right.
In which somebody comes to me at the age of 30 years with depression. A lady comes and she tells, once I was going through the routine history, then she would say that, I've been having trouble, basic depression symptoms. Then I asked her anything else which has been troubling her. So the precipitating factor was that she had some altercation with some family member few days back. And actually, he was the same family member who had molested her when she was 6 years old. So that sort of, and she tried, at that time she did not understand. Later on, he tried again, and then she thought of going and sharing it with her mother, but it could not go through.
Right.
So that is what happens in actually in Indian families, and either the mother, I would say mother because usually children have better access,
Right.
are either not willing to accept, or they are in denial, or they don't want the family dynamics to be disturbed. Because if that uncle who happens to be very close, maybe financially supporting the family,
Right.
maybe emotional support, if they do something like that, but they don't realize that it actually plays havoc with the mind of that child.
Absolutely.
Another case I remember is 50-year-old female. She came to me with sudden repetitive thoughts of molestation. And the trigger was that her child was in class 12th and she was too much worried about her studies. When I asked her that, okay, the child is there, why are you having repetitive thoughts? So the dynamics were that she had, had a male friend. And the male friend, she was going close to that male friend, and the mother never wanted her attention to be diverted. But the repetitive thought that this lady herself was getting was molestation. When I said these things do not correlate. Then at that time she shared with me, at this stage I was molested by my uncle.
Oh,
So that is how it plays up in the mind of a human being.
right.
All these stories, all these facts should be disclosed in front of audience like this today's program, plus what has been mentioned by our two other panelists and him,
Right.
that the more we tell them that, look, this is going to create havoc on one hand, and plus on the other hand, we were mentioning about pedophile. Now, pedophilia is something that the person, adult person, is attracted towards children. Could be male or female. So such a person who has been recognized to be having a pedophilic tendency should not be given appointment again in the same sitting.
Right.
The issue here is, once somebody is caught, there is no way of knowing from one school to another that this person was caught on this behalf. So that person keeps on revolving in the same vicinity unless until he does a major crime.
Right.
So there has to be better data recording and protection of the documents,
Absolutely.
the way we should have the documentation of the culprits. Similarly, for child protection, pedophiles, if recognized, on one hand, it's our duty to treat them also, but on the other hand, we have to ensure that they stay away from similar surroundings.
Absolutely.
So the same person, after following the due course of law, can be rehabilitated in a adult setting.
Right.
But that thing doesn't happen because all things are brushed under the
come to
carpet.
you.
Yeah, please.
Before I come to you, Shalabh, we have so many parents here in the audience. मैं यहाँ पर जेंडर में नहीं जाऊँगी कि गर्ल्स सेफ हैं या बॉयज़ सेफ हैं. इनफैक्ट बॉयज़ के लिए ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम है. बॉयज़ के साथ जो सेक्शुअल अब्यूज़ के केस आ रहे हैं, जितने भी सर्वेज मैंने पढ़े हैं, उसमें देखा गया है कि बॉयज़ के साथ ओपन होना बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है, क्योंकि एक हमारा पेट्रियार्कल सेटअप है जिसमें लोग ये धारणा बना के रहते हैं कि भाई बॉयज़ के साथ तो ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता. आप में से कोई इस पर बात करना चाहेगा? इसके बाद फिर मैं शैल आपके पास जाऊंगी.
मैं ही इस पर थोड़ा प्रकाश डालना चाहूँगी. अभी कुछ दिनों पहले की जुलाई की बात है, कलकत्ता में एक प्ले स्कूल में एक वही मैंने कहा जैसे कि एक बॉय छोटे से बच्चे के साथ इस तरह की एक वारदात हुई है, जिसे स्कूल ने, जो भी उसके प्रिंसिपल हैं और जो भी वहाँ जो देखने वाले हैं, उन्होंने उस मामले को बाहर नहीं आने दिया. बच्चा जब घर में आया, उसके शरीर पर कुछ निशान देखकर उसके पेरेंट्स ने बात की इस बारे में. लेकिन जैसे कि हमने कहा कि बॉयज़ के बारे में हम सोचते हैं कि इस तरह से ज़रूरी नहीं है. मुझे लगता है बॉयज़ को भी प्रोटेक्शन की ज़रूरत है और उन्हें भी मानसिक रूप से वैसे ही पेरेंट्स तैयार करें जैसे कि हम लड़कियों को करते हैं.
Okay. Yes, Shalabh, you wanted to make a point.
ऐसा नहीं होता.
Yes, you wanted to make a point.
Sexual abuse is a kind of violation which has deep roots in our society. So cultural aspect as well as power equations do come into play. But having said that, and we are overtly talking about sensitizing children about good touch, bad touch, or being able to report it to parents. But I think that is too much of burden to place on a child. Why I'm saying this? Because NCRB data says that 94.6% of cases of such abuse are committed by known people. Imagine if a father is the perpetrator and he is the sole bread earner of the family. The mother will have a lot of hesitations to talk about it, to come out open in the society or to report it to police because of the very first and crucial factor of financial issues.
Right.
We have not been able to
And
create...
apart from the livelihood issue which you are saying, apart from that, the families also fear the social stigma that what would the society say? लोग क्या कहेंगे कि अरे भाई इस लड़की का father ऐसे कर रहा है. So that also is a very big aspect.
That is also important, and that's why I'm saying we have failed, and continuously, constantly, we have failed to create a kind of response system.
Okay.
Where a child can be taken care of by the state, a counseling is being provided to child, a support system. If there is a threat by a society or by neighbors, a victim protection scheme has to be placed. It has to come into picture. Interim compensations has to be given. So all that has been, we have failed at so many levels.
You just spoke about compensation, but the first case study of that little 4-year-old kid, I think this gentleman was just telling me that he's come back from a court hearing. और आप कह रहे हैं कि आपको compensation नहीं चाहिए इस केस में.
कंपनसेशन से क्या मीनिंग है? क्या उस बच्चे का वो खुशियाँ, उस परिवार की खुशियाँ, मान सम्मान, क्या वो वापस आ जाएगा? कंपनसेशन से ये सोसाइटी क्या खरीदना चाहती है? कंपनसेशन को क्या आपने किस तरीके से बोला कि कंपनसेशन दे करके सोसाइटी छूट जाती है?
Let's Stuti ji respond on this.
See, compensation, victim compensation scheme जो है वो एक्ट में प्रोवाइडेड फॉर है, क्योंकि अक्सर ये होता है कि बच्चे का को इमीडिएट मेडिकल अटेंशन की ज़रूरत होती है, बहुत सारे खर्चे आ जाते हैं, तो ये कॉम्पनसेशन स्कीम से या कॉम्पनसेशन मनी से वो बच्चे को या फैमिली को फाइनेंशियल जो उनको असिस्टेंस मिल जाती है. इसलिए है कोई रिपेयर, ये डैमेज का कोई भरपाई नहीं होती है इससे कि जो मेंटल ट्रॉमा आपको है. बट सर मैं आपको एक सलाह दूंगी कि यू हैव टू बी मेंटली स्ट्रांग टू हेल्प योर चाइल्ड.
एब्सोल्युटली. यस डॉक्टर वोरा, आप कुछ कह रहे हैं?
मैडम वो ये है कि गवर्नमेंट आपको सहानुभूति नहीं दिखा रही, वो आपका हक आपको देना चाह रही. समझिए फर्क. हाँ. ये आपका हक है, समझिए. गवर्नमेंट आपको सपोर्ट देना चाह रही है जहां जहां पर आपका लॉस हुआ, जितना गवर्नमेंट कर सकती है, यही वो कहना चाह रहे हैं.
समाज में और भी लोग हैं, वो क्या कहते हैं, कोर्ट में वकील क्या कहता है कि सर इन्होंने गवर्नमेंट की लीगल एड जो गवर्नमेंट से हेल्प मिलती है उसके लिए किया है इन्होंने. सर मतलब मेरे पास वर्ड्स नहीं है बोलने के लिए.
Yes, give him the mic please. 1 second. Yes.
His apprehension is on a larger point wherein he says, instead of giving me justice, why are you compensating me?
Right.
Which is the case with all of us, which is something that we are all dealing with. Each one of us sitting over here.
Right.
Be it NCPCR, be it DOE, be it the police, you go anywhere. Nobody is actually concerned about solving the issue. You go to NCPCR, NCPCR issues a notice. There are 3 reminders that they send. 6 months is gone. Thereafter, a reply is received. The reply is sent to you. Then you reply. They again send that notice. Again, 6 months is gone. Cases are pending for 2 years, 2.5 years. No action is being taken.
But Sudhir Narayan, without getting into a blame game of sorts, it's a larger issue.
I'm not getting into the blame
Right.
game.
You have a
actually
point in what you're
talking
saying, sir. You do have a point. What my question is that as he's saying that the cases have been pending in the courts and, conviction, of course, is very low. Why are the cases pending? Because if you have to give justice to a little kid who's 4-year-old who's been sexually abused, what can be a bigger justice than giving him a speedy delivery of justice?
Under the POCSO Act, there are supposed to be special courts which take up these cases. They are supposed to fast track them. In fact, the new amendment has fixed a time limit for it. I do agree with him that in NCPCR, there used to be a lot of, time was taken for getting these cases sorted out, but we have streamlined the procedures, and this is not the case anymore.
Right.
I mean, for 2-3 years in between, NCPCR had no chairperson,
Right.
and therefore things got a little neglected.
Okay.
But now this is not the case, sir, and in any case, we are not an investigating agency. We are an agency to help you, and we do expedite all cases which are pending at various levels, whether it is at the police station or whether it is not so much in the courts.
Does NCPCR...
You didn't introduce yourself, sir.
I am Prashant.
Okay.
And my son studies in Venkateshwar International School, Sector 10, Dwarka. And he was mentally harassed and abused. And the case has been going on for 2 years since 2016 with the NCPCR. No decision has been taken as yet. And that is why I am telling you.
I'll come to the mental harassment, but just in a while.
What I actually wanted to know was, does NCPCR actually have any teeth? Or is it just a paper tiger?
Oh, well, under the Act, we do recommend action against people, but if you...
Is it binding on the person?
It is not like NHRC, where they have the powers are much greater than ours.
Okay.
But we do recommend action when there has been a dereliction of duty, and therefore we have to follow the due procedure. But I just wanted to go on to the case of sodomy case mentioned by the second gentleman, where he is talking about a juvenile boy who sodomized a younger boy. And this is something which is coming up in much bigger numbers than there was earlier. And it is a serious kind of a child sexual abuse. And to my mind, it is because children are having unlimited access to the internet. And a lot of them are now experimenting because of what they have seen on the internet. There's a lot of porn on in the internet, and children are watching this porn. Even perpetrators are watching porn, and then they are going and abusing children.
Absolutely. In
So
fact,
I would request all parents sitting here, please be very careful about what your child is watching on the internet and on the smartphones. Please be careful.
Stuti has made a very valid point. In today's times, when the society is running on an information highway. There are so many informations, and the child is getting exposed to this kind of an information at a very early level. Dr. Bora, what is the real panacea for this problem? With working parents, with not many caregivers and caretakers left behind when the parents are working, what is the kind of filter you can actually
As Madam
give
has
to your
just
child?
pointed out, it's very important for parents to know what their child is browsing.
Okay.
Another thing, most important thing I would say is the trust and communication between parent and child.
Okay.
That is very important. And what is happening these days is that parents are too busy. They are too busy in their own, professions. And then by the time they come back, they will just see that the child is, busy in something. And the most important factor is that the child is more knowledgeable about the internet and the gadgets as compared to the parents. So what the child does, as soon as the parents come in the room, he will just change the screen. So the parents are at a loss and they feel that if they confront the child, the things might go wrong. But
आपने
this,
मैं आपको थोड़ी देर के लिए यहाँ इंटरप्ट करूंगी. आज इस ऑडियंस में कितने पेरेंट्स हैं जो एक्चुअली सुपरवाइज कर रहे हैं कि उनका बच्चा क्या देख रहा है इंटरनेट पे? I would like to hear. No, you had your word. Yes, ma'am. You want to speak?
My name is Poonam Lamba. I am a teacher and mother also of 2 kids. Yeah, I supervise and I try not to give too much access to internet or phone. I usually make my kids busy in other physical activities or games like this.
Okay.
But it's not a point for a single parent or some few parents. There are so many. They can their kids can easily access to through their friends also. They can go to their friend's house. Yes.
So, of course, apart from supervising what your child is watching on the internet, another point is that we have to keep a watch on whom is the child mingling with, whether it's a friend, whether it's
peer
a
group pressure and peer group activities is also very important to take care of.
Right. But
And
once... yes. Yes, Alka.
I heard Honorable Minister saying this last week, wherein she said that 38% of internet space is actually child abuse content, and that needs to be regulated. So, of course, it's about families, parents, and children being empowered about it, but also at the systemic level, we'll have to see that those spaces needs to be
In fact, the
cleared.
Parliamentary Standing Committee on Home Affairs, they itself had, expressed the anguish on underreporting of, child sexual abuses cases on online. So it's not that the government is not sensitive or the government doesn't want to do anything. The laws are in place. We just, I think, need a little sensitivity. Stuti, would you just elaborate a little on the point which I have just made? I mean, how do you actually prevent the sexual abuse? Because I want to go into other abuses as well. There are case studies on mental harassment as well. So before I get into that, how do you really tell the parents here and the large audience which is watching this program, how do you actually prevent sexual abuse at a basic level?
Well, the cyberspace has emerged as a huge area where a lot of people are targeting our children, pedophiles, say, sitting somewhere in the globe, somewhere, and they are looking to Indian children because India is the one country that is producing children.
Right.
And they come here, even there is, they are called the traveling sex tourists, and they come here to pedophile our children. So one thing is we need to have more control over the cyberspace.
So when you say cyberspace, Shalabh, I'll come to you. Today the norm is that, okay, you're going to a tourist destination, you immediately post your picture on the Facebook or Instagram, look, we are here. Or you put the picture of your children that, look, they're enjoying here. So what's the driving point now? That should the parents be posting their pictures on the Facebook, on Instagram to reveal their destination, where they are going? Does the society adopt that filter as well? How do we sensitize the parents?
See, sensitizing parents is one thing, and the whole concept of consent has to be put in place.
Okay.
Before you put up a picture, it has to be the consent. It has to be consented by children or by any agency you are doing.
But what about if the kids are very young? How would you? The consent doesn't matter in that case.
The consent doesn't matter in that case.
Kid.
But see, once the problem is arriving, is reaching, we have to see how are you going to address this. Our laws are not good enough to address the kind of vocabulary cyberspace has.
Okay.
Child online safety is one issue which has emerged in the last 10 years, and it has emerged immensely.
Yes.
And the laws...
It's one of the very big challenges faced by the society.
It's one of the very big challenges. And till date, in India, only UNICEF has conducted one study on child online safety.
Right.
There is no other gross or overall study over child online safety. So the vocabulary of law is very limited to address the issues of child online safety.
Right.
The problem like sexism is nowhere addressed in our legal framework.
Right.
So laws have to be reviewed with the emerging child online safety issues.
But as far as India is concerned, Alka, I think you would supplement what I'm saying, that India still is in a very nascent stage. Of course, technology-wise, we have advanced a lot. Laws are in place, but when it comes to sensitivity, for example, NCRB has just started recording the POSCO data. Before that, there was no data related to sexual abuse. So data collection, then at the same time sensitizing all the stakeholders. Where do you think, at what speed are we now? Or we really need to speed up the process to prevent all these children from becoming victims of sexual abuse?
So before coming to answer your question, I would like to mention here a study which we just released 3 months back that was on perceptions of girl safety in public spaces, wherein of 5 states which were under survey, every 1 girl in 3 said that they fear sexual abuse when they step out of in a public space.
Right.
Now, how horrifying is that? I mean, they're not afraid of criminals. They're not afraid of anything but of men and boys around us. So, these perceptions are nothing but they are basis experiences that we have on our daily basis. So, such data, I mean, which is coming out of a study, needs to be really seen from the lens of legal framework, from the lens of practice, the kind of, policing or arrangements that we have in public spaces, including your online, which is also a public space, emerging public space. And then we need to see that where from that, fear originates and what can be a response to that.
I do agree with what you're saying, but when the laws are in place, obviously a person feels free to go and report the case to the police station. That's the first thing which comes to mind, that okay, let's get an FIR lodged. Now, when you go to the police station, that becomes your first point of contact. Now, here there are activists. I would like to, and also I would come to that gentleman who's...
Just add to that, and in the same study, while girls were getting, interacted and they were asked that would they go to a police station, 50% of them said that no, they don't really trust
Exactly, this is the point I was coming to. Alka, you made a very valid point. And I would like to ask a few gentlemen here that when it comes to going and talking to the person in the police station or an SHO or a sub-inspector who becomes your first point of contact, what we have read is it just sounds very awkward to say it, but when a rape victim is being asked ugly questions, the kind of trauma which the child has to undergo, the kind of questions which the judges ask, the kind of questions which the lawyers ask. So the parents ultimately and the stakeholders would say, instead of going through that trauma, it's better we don't go to the police station. Anybody would want to comment on this? Yes, give him the mic, please. Yes.
Myself, Chandra Suman. I am lawyer working with the children since last 10 years. At present, I am working with child sexual abuse victims. जब अभी हम चर्चा कर रहे थे तो एक एस्पेक्ट अभी छूट रहा था, मैं सोचा कि उसको मैं अभी लाइट में लेके आऊँ. हम बच्चों को स्कूल से लेके और घर में गुड टच बैड टच सब सिखा रहे हैं, लेकिन हम इसके द्वारा हम बच्चों के ऊपर जिम्मेदारी डाल रहे हैं, अपने हम जिम्मेदारी से बच रहे हैं. प्रॉब्लम तब आती है, बच्चों को तो हमने सिखा दिया, लेकिन बच्चा जब उस चीज़ को रिपोर्ट करता है तो उसके बाद पेरेंट्स का, नेबर्स का, सोसाइटी का और सिस्टम का क्या रिस्पॉन्स?
Excellent point. Excellent point. Like, I think it's what you made is a very valid point, that it's high time that we stop putting all the responsibility on the tiny shoulders of that little child. And anybody who else wants to elaborate on what he just said? हाँ, आप बोलिए. अच्छा,
कंटिन्यू. तो होता है, मेरा एक्सपीरियंस एट प्रेजेंट टाइम आई एम हैंडलिंग 150 केसेस ऑफ चाइल्ड सेक्सुअल अब्यूज इन द दिल्ली कोर्ट्स, असिस्टिंग द चाइल्ड विक्टिम. रिपोर्टिंग जब पेरेंट्स को होएगा, पेरेंट्स का मैंने सबसे पहले इशू ये आती है कि अगर घर का कोई फैमिली मेम्बर से इन्वॉल्व है इंसेस्ट केसेस में तो रिपोर्ट करना इवन मदर्स भी नहीं चाहती, कोई नहीं चाहता. उसके बाद फिर अगर बात होती है रिश्तेदारों से तो फिर बोलेंगे समाज में शिकायत हो जाएगी, बदनामी हो जाएगी. आई एम कमिंग और आगे मैं बता रहा हूँ. फिर आप उसके बाद आप जब पुलिस स्टेशन जाते हैं, जो वहाँ भी ट्रॉमा फेस करना होता है, मेडिकल कराने जाते हैं, वहाँ भी ट्रॉमा बच्चे के साथ फेस होता है. तो मेरा सिस्टम की बात तभी सबने उठाई कि कोर्ट्स में क्या होता है. तो मेरा ये कहना है, मैं ये पॉइंट करना चाहता कि बच्चे को हमने फेल किया है, एज ए सोसाइटी हमने बच्चे को फेल किया है, बच्चे फेल नहीं हुए हैं.
राइट, वेरी वैलिड पॉइंट, वेरी वैलिड पॉइंट. Yes.
See, and the POXO Act is very clearly stating that the statement of the child has to be recorded by a woman police officer, a female police officer. And if you look at the data by NCRB, only 7% of female police officers are there in the whole country.
Right.
So not every police station is also having female police staff. So that is one big issue. And like he rightly pointed out, the medical, when the victim is taken for the medical examination, the medical is done by the normal regular gynecologist,
Absolutely.
who is also busy with the regular delivery cases.
Right.
So the child has to wait for hours and hours till the time the gynecologist gets free, and then she conducts the examination.
Absolutely. So these are all collective problems related to sexual abuse, and I think all the points and also what you just mentioned, that it's time we stop putting all the responsibility on the child's shoulders. It's a society which has failed the child. I think on that bit, I would now like to digress over other forms of...
Can I just add one more point
Yes.
to it, and that is, it's not that we don't have good examples around. We have example of SHE team of Hyderabad police, which are mobile vans in civil
Right.
dresses. You're there. The moment a child wants to report, they don't have to go to a police station, but a SHE van.
Okay.
And therein they have this live, connection with the magistrate where a child can tell the problem, and that
Okay.
gets recorded. So I don't have to be present every single time and repeat the same trauma, the pain that I
So
have
you
been
have
through.
successful templates
Needs to be
existing in the
replicated,
country. I
yeah.
think you need to universalize it across
Yes,
the country.
yes.
Okay, now I want to come to some other forms of child abuses. Like there are cases of mental harassment, how the child... एक छोटा सा बच्चा है हमारे साथ, उस छोटे से बच्चे को दीजिए. मैं 2-3 केस स्टडीज आपको दिखाना चाह रही हूँ किस तरीके का मेंटल हैरेसमेंट इस समय बच्चे फेस कर रहे हैं. आपके साथ क्या हुआ था बेटा? आप अपना नाम बताओ, किस स्कूल से हो?
I'm Krisha Jodia from G.D. Salwan Public School.
हाँ, क्या हुआ था अभी आपके साथ रिसेंटली?
मेरे साथ
थोड़ा जोर से बोलो.
11 जुलाई को मेरे स्कूल में पीटी का पीरियड था. मेरे को प्यास लग रही थी, तो मैंने सर से पूछा, सर मैं आई गो टू फिल माई वाटर बॉटल. तो सर ने मना कर दिया था कि नहीं जा सकते. तो कोई और बच्चा जा रहा था, तो मैंने बोला सर मैं उसको बॉटल दे सकता हूँ कि वो मेरी बॉटल भर लाए. तो सर ने जब भी मना कर दिया था. तो जो बच्चा बॉटल ले रहा था सबकी, उसने मेरे से आके कहा कि मेरे को बॉटल दे दे. तो मैं उसको बॉटल दे रहा था, तो सर ने मेरे पीछे बहुत तेज थप्पड़ मारे थे.
किससे मारा?
हाथ से.
अच्छा.
बहुत तेज सर पे मारे. फिर उसके बाद मेरे को मैं
नहीं,
बेहोश
लेकिन
हो गया
आपके
था.
टीचर ये चाह रहे होंगे कि क्लास के बीच में आप पानी पीने नहीं जाओ. ओके, तो फिर क्या हुआ?
मैं बेहोश हो गया था उस टाइम पे. सर ने बहुत तेज मारा था, मैं रोने लग गया था.
आप क्लास में फेंट हो गए थे? ओके.
बेहोश हो गया था. फिर उसके बाद कई मेरे फ्रेंड्स ने मुझे बोला कि मैंने मैथ्स मैम को बताया, तो मैथ्स मैम ने भी कुछ नहीं बोला. फिर उसके बाद मैं मेडिकल रूम गया. मेडिकल मैम ने भी बस चेक करा और बोला कि कुछ नहीं हुआ, तुम्हें जाओ तुम क्लास में और हेड डाउन कर लो.
ओके, सो आपने ये केस उठाया कहीं पर? आपकी मदर से बात करेंगे. यस, आप अपना नाम बताइए.
कौशल्या है मैम. मैंने जब मुझे पता लगा कि इसके साथ ऐसे साथ हुआ है, तो मैंने अपने पेरेंट्स ग्रुप पे ये बात डाली. तो पेरेंट्स ग्रुप वालों ने मेरे साथ दिया. इसे मेडिकल के लिए लेके गए चेकअप के लिए. तो वहाँ से उन्होंने रेफ़र करा कि भाई आप इसे लेडी हार्डिंग ले जाओ बच्चों वाले हॉस्पिटल में. फिर ये रोने लग गया, तो हम इसे वापस ले आए. कह रहे नहीं मुझे नहीं चेकअप कराना. मैंने उसमें डाली ग्रुप पे. फिर मैं सेकंड डे रात को भी इसको बुखार चढ़ा बहुत तेज़, इसी सरदर्द की वजह से. मैंने इसे नीमोलेट नाम की गोली होती है वो दी मैंने आधी करके इसे. रात को भी बुखार चढ़ गया सरदर्द की वजह से.
ओके.
क्योंकि इसे बहुत पेन हो रहा था, आंखों में जलन और रो रहा था. इसका फेस देखने लायक था.
और नॉर्मली इस तरीके के केसेस स्कूल में जब होते हैं, तो आप नॉर्मली जब शिकायत करते हो तो लोग उसको ओवरलुक कर जाते हैं कि ठीक है छोटा सा एक इंसिडेंट होगा. ओके, आई वांट टू कम टू सम मोर एग्जांपल्स. यस, आई वांट यू टू टॉक नाउ. गिव हिम द माइक प्लीज.
I am a professor of biotechnology. My name is Raghuram. I teach in Indraprastha University. So when we were to stay in Dwarka, where the university was coming up, not a single government school had a roof on it. They were all running in tin sheds. This is a part of the problem. So we had to go to private schools, which are all 5-star buildings. Because I was a teacher, my child was easily got admission without my having to pay a donation, which I was very particular that I would never pay. But when time went on, we were asking questions about the accessories business that all schools now do in total violation of all the relevant laws. Education has become an accessories business rather than a business of charging fee for tuition. So because I am a teacher myself and we are running a self-financing university,
Okay.
where we give a complete BTech education in
No,
60,000 rupees.
what was the actual
School
mental
was charging
harassment your child
all
faced?
kinds of money. We were asking questions on various things in order to get even with the parents, because other parents were asking. They wanted to get rid of the child by issuing a unilateral TC.
Okay.
When we didn't accept it, the next day throughout 7 hours schooling hours, the child was made to sit in different parts of the school, but not allowed to the class, not allowed to the lunchroom, and the parent I was being constantly called to come and pick up the child.
Okay.
I filed cases with NCPCR, DCPCR, and Delhi Police. Delhi Police did not register FIR for 1 month, and CWC did not give me a hearing for 15 days.
And that was because it was an influential school which was there.
Well, it was a new school. It was a private school. May have become influential over a period of time. And the child was 7 years old in the second standard. The police didn't lodge FIR. Then we went to NCPCR. They only gave a notice to the school. Then we went to DCPCR. They didn't have a chairman, so it was dead. Then we went to CWC, which didn't have time to hear us because there were already too many cases. Then I raised the matter to the Women and Child Minister of Delhi, who first gave me a lecture as being a teacher, how could you do it to your own child? You should fight for others' children, not for your own children. So I got a lecture from our own education minister of that period.
Okay.
Then, of course, she was kind enough to help us and request the CWC to at least give us a hearing. Then we got a hearing, and finally the CWC gave an order to the police.
Okay.
But because the police were not registering the FIR and CWC was only established under the JJ Act, CWC could only direct the police to proceed under the JJ Act.
Okay.
Now, a range of violations done by the school covered under a range of laws all then come down to Section 23 JJ Act. Then it goes to only child's court. Then the case is only made out to be mental harassment of neglect, abandonment, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And then on that, there is a 3-month imprisonment and some fine that has been awarded eventually. But the point I'm making is the response system, as our lawyer was saying, in fact, it was Soman Chandra who fought our case. Police don't file FIRs.
Okay.
CWC has no time. And it takes years. It took us 6 years to get the first conviction.
Okay, so the point you're making is
that's
that
not
the
easy for everybody to do.
Yes, so it's a time-taking response system which you're pointing out. I want to come on to the larger aspect and these kind of cases of mental torture, mental harassment which are coming up. Dr. Vohra, what does it actually point out? Apart from the rising cases of sexual abuse, when you come to cases like these, when it's very clearly mentioned that, under mental harassment, if a child is beaten up or we've heard of incidents where cigarette butts, are given to children. What does it point out to, and where is this all heading to? And what would you say about these cases?
It shows that the society runs on power dynamics.
Okay.
It's the one who's powerful will try to do everything, and the other person will suffer. So depending on the degree of power you share with somebody, the decision will be based on that. Right. Unfortunately, this is what is happening.
Last comments from all of you. पावर डायनामिक्स की आपने बात कही और मैं फिर से एक बिहार और यूपी में जो अभी केस हुआ था उस पे जाऊंगी सुती मैम कि क्या व्हाट इज द रीजन आपके जो शेल्टर होम्स हैं चाइल्ड प्रोटेक्शन होम्स आपने बनाए हैं जब वो खुद ही सेफ नहीं हैं तो पूरे सिस्टम को आप कैसे सेफ बनाओगे आपसे सबसे बड़ी बात इस समय यहाँ पे जानना चाहते हैं क्योंकि आप वो पॉलिटिकली इन्फ्लुएंशियल होते हैं जैसे पावर डायनामिक्स की बात की आप उस केस को हाउ विल यू निप देम इन द बड
See, these are children staying in these homes, children's homes as they're called. Right. They're not only shelter homes.
Right.
Their whole clutch of homes are those children who have nobody. And that in itself makes them very, very vulnerable. And that is why under POCSO Act, when a person in authority, that is a person in charge of any of the children homes, commits a sexual offense or any kind of a child abuse, the punishment is much more severe than a normal kind of, the same kind of crime being committed by another person.
Right.
And therefore these children need to be looked after very carefully.
Right. But
one thing I would like to say is that the JJ Act says it is the family which is responsible. And we are coming across so many cases where the families are being totally irresponsible towards their children.
Right.
Families have to realize that children are given in trust to us.
Okay.
They are not our, I would say, they are not, we don't have any ownership over them.
So the trust and confidence has to be built between the parents and the children so that the children come back and discuss and share with their parents that what is the actual problem. Alka, I would like to come to you and now talk about this shelter home and all these horror stories which came out. Normally what happens is when the power dynamics which Dr. Vora was talking about, shelter homes की जब हम बात करते हैं तो normally जो political class है वो political damage control में लग जाता है. But they don't get into the actual problem of the matter, that what happens to the shelter home, how do you make them safe legally, socially, culturally, but they get into a political damage control.
So I would like to mention here both, be it childcare institutions or our schools, and safety of children in there, and how do we really, or do we sufficiently engage children, empower and engage them or not.
Okay.
In CCIs, we already see that under JJ Act, there is provision of Bal Samitis. The meetings have to happen. These needs to be reported and also to be shared back with the children.
Okay.
Are all of these happening? If these were happening, you know, such weight of, that long
That
trauma
would not have been there.
wouldn't have happened.
Okay.
Again, for the schools, we would see that do we even have school safety guidelines in there?
Right.
One incident happened in
important point.
Gurugram. A moment was built wherein Delhi worked on a war footing to have a school safety guideline, but not many states, I must put in here, even today have school safety guidelines in there, and engaging parents. I mean, these are private schools, there are elections, so parents in some ways are engaged. But when you look at government schools in there, or your largely,
Right.
large schools, not parents are
And the
getting
problem
engaged
is much
into
graver in the
safety.
rural areas. Yes, you rightly pointed out, but
yeah.
I'm really running short of time. Alka, what is the kind of solution you would offer to the society at this point of time when you have a cross-section of society, you have parents as stakeholders, children, policemen, the medical practitioners? What is that one solution you would offer to the society at this point of time as a psychiatrist?
All stakeholders should come and jointly look for a solution.
Okay.
And the excellent templates, the example of which she has given, should be followed. Besides what he has said, should be followed in a case of victim.
Okay.
Exactly the same dynamics, and it should be implemented. It should not be only on papers.
Okay. And besides all these stakeholders which you have spoken about, how should children handle at this point of time when they are going through an information highway? They also have to suffer this deafening silence if the incident is happening within their family. What would you have to tell the little children who would be watching this program?
It's a bit difficult because again we are getting into that vicious circle of putting the burden on children. And
No, just as a caution. How do you caution the child? As an activist, how would you caution the child? I'm not saying put all the responsibility or all the onus on the shoulders of
the
children.
caution is very simple. If anything bad or irregular or unusual happening to you, say it aloud to your parents.
Okay.
It's not your fault. Our
It's
children
not
must
your
know
fault.
that
Very
that's
rightly
not
said.
their fault.
And of course, one thing I would like to add on what all these panelists have said, that this assumption that boys cannot be vulnerable should not be there. If you have some hesitation, if they are elders, yes, you obey the elders, but do not forget that you need to scream also at certain times when you feel that you are vulnerable. Of course, the child abuse is certainly an important societal concern with significant ramifications for the affected children, their families, and society at large. Devising effective response in agreement with all stakeholders has always been a challenge. The need of the hour, perhaps, is for all to come together on a common platform to give our kids a safe, livable environment. Thanks to all my guests, Dr. Vora, Alka, Stuti Narayan, and Shailab. It was a pleasure talking to all of you. And with this, it's a wrap on this edition of The Pulse. Do send us your feedback on the email ID, which is flashing on your screen. And if you want a particular issue to be discussed and debated in this program, The Pulse, do write to us. Goodbye, and thanks for watching.